What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Fulltime MMA. We're here today to break down UFC 281 going down this Saturday, November 12th, headlined by current UFC middleweight champion Israel Adesanya taking on Alex Pereira. Before we break down this main card, this pay-per-view going down this weekend, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell. Don't be a baby back bagel biting beta male, because you know what time it is. It's Full-Time MMA. That's right, UFC 281 goes down this Saturday, and it's going to be headlined by Israel Adesanya taking on arch nemesis and former kickboxing rival Alex Pereira. This is going to be a very good fight, very interesting fight, as Israel Adesanya has reigned supreme in the UFC's middleweight division, but he's taking on somebody that he has not been able to beat in their two outings. Their two outings were in kickboxing before Israel Adesanya joined the UFC. But Alex Pereira beat him via decision the first time and knocked him out cold the second time. And now he gets a chance to crush Israel Adesanya's dreams one more time, but this time in the UFC on the biggest stage. That's going to be a great fight. Co-main event, we've got Carla Esparza taking on Weili Zhang. This is a fight between the UFC's inaugural champion Carla Esparza, who reclaimed her title with a split decision win over Rose Namajunas. She's taking on former UFC strawweight champion Weili Zhang, who just earned a spinning back fist KO highlight finish over former strawweight queen Joanna Jędrzejczyk. So that's going to be a great fight, and the odds makers, they've got something to say about that fight. We'll discuss when we break it down. We've also got the people's main event, Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler. That fight is fight of the night potential, slugfest potential, and that's the fight that a lot of people are really going to be tuning in for. That fight is two of the best fighters in the world, two of the most exciting fighters in the world, and it's not even for a title. So that is another great addition to this pay-per-view. And then, of course, the former champion, future Hall of Famer Frankie Edgar looking to get back on track against Chris Gutierrez, who's streaking, and Dan the Hangman Hooker taking on Claudio Puelles. We've got a stacked card. I can't wait for it. And with that being said, let's get into my breakdown and predictions. You can see on the screen in the main event we'll get to first, I've got Israel Adesanya winning. But it's tough for me to pick Israel Adesanya because, as we previously discussed, he's already lost this fight twice. It was in kickboxing, but MMA has shown Israel Adesanya has become a lot more well-rounded than he once was as a kickboxer. We've seen his phenomenal, I'm talking elite, takedown defense, and you've got to imagine he's got some sort of not only wrestling offense but submission offense if he is able to get Alex Pereira down to the ground and showcase how well-rounded he has become to be the UFC's reigning defending middleweight champion. So I think Israel Adesanya is going to have to grit it out and show more than he's ever shown, possibly with his grappling in this fight. Be very patient with the striking and look for any opportunities for trips or anything to get this fight to the ground and get Alex Pereira where he's not comfortable fighting. Even with that being said, it's going to be a tough matchup for Israel Adesanya, but I do pick him to edge it out. I could very well see and new, and that would be crazy. Alex Pereira's only got 3 fights in the UFC. This will be his 4th, and he could already be a UFC champion due to his history and his grudge match with Israel Adesanya. So I'm picking Israel Adesanya, but I'm going to be don't blink because anything can happen. And we've already seen him knock Israel Adesanya out cold once. It could very well happen again. Now, moving on to the co-main event, I'm going to go with the odds makers here. I'm taking Weili Zhang. This is a fight, Carla Esparza. It's winnable for Carla Esparza if she utilizes her wrestling. She is one of the better wrestlers in the division. Not the best, as Tatiana Suarez will get that title, but she's definitely one of the better wrestlers in the division. She definitely can utilize her clinch or her wrestling to maybe win some rounds in this fight. But I think Weili Zhang is just going to be a little bit too much. And she's also got another path to victory. I think Weili can get a TKO KO in this fight as well as win via decision. And I only really see Esparza winning a decision. And she's been fighting, some pretty close fights with a lot of girls, a lot of split decisions. And I don't think it's going to be enough for Weili Zhang unless she is able to dominate with her wrestling. But I think Weili Zhang's defensive takedowns, defensive grappling is going to be too good, and she's going to probably win this fight standing up. I can see her hurting Carla Esparza on the feet and just not being, Carla Esparza not being able to keep her down and win with her wrestling. So I'm taking Weili Zhang to win this fight and reclaim her title from Carla Esparza, who just reclaimed her title. It's like, Game of Thrones in the UFC strawweight division. So with that being said, I'm taking Weili Zhang. Now we've got the people's main event, Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler. I've got to go with Dustin Poirier in this fight. I'm putting a lot of stock into his UFC tenure, but this fight's going to be insane. This is a fight of the night, back and forth war unless somebody gets caught or injured early. Both of these dudes are tough as nails and willing to go toe-to-toe with any foe. They're both well-rounded and can win this fight on the feet, the mat, or via decision in a brawl, in an all-out war. This is for sure the people's main event, and for me it's nearly a toss-up as far as who's going to win. But I'm going to give the edge to Dustin Poirier, the UFC veteran. I'm putting stock into his UFC tenure and his resume against better competition for a longer time than Michael Chandler, but I would not be surprised in the least if Chandler can come out with a W, because he's as dangerous as any lightweight in the world, and he can win this fight in any method, so I'm definitely picking Dustin Poirier. I'm picking Dustin Poirier, but Michael Chandler is dangerous. This is another don't blink fight on the same card. This is going to be a real good card. Make sure you clear your schedule. If you miss this card, you can't call yourself a real fan. I'll tell you that much. With that being said, we've got Frankie Edgar versus Chris Gutierrez. The answer, Frankie Edgar. He's a former UFC champion and future Hall of Famer. He's currently riding a 2-fight losing streak to top bantamweight contenders Corey Sandhagen and Marlon Vera. Unfortunately, they were both brutal knockouts, and the answer for the answer is likely going to be retirement after this fight in his home state as UFC 281 takes place at Madison Square Garden. Chris Gutierrez, his opponent, is 10 years younger than Frankie Edgar and currently riding a 6-fight win streak, I believe, or a 3-fight winning streak, and he had a decision in there, a draw. But he hasn't fought anybody in the top 15, so this is a great matchmaking for both fighters. Frankie gets a winnable fight, and Chris Gutierrez gets a real test against a respectable opponent to see if he's ready for the top 10. So I like the matchmaking. I'm picking Frankie Edgar to win. Dan Hooker versus Claudio Puelles. Dan Hooker's 1-4 in his last 5 UFC fights, but he's only lost to the best of the best of the best, sir. He's literally only losing the top 5 contenders, which leads me to believe he's the perfect top 5 gatekeeper for the UFC. He's beat good guys like Iaquinta, Paul Felder, James Vick, but he only loses to the Poiriers, Chandlers, Islams, and Arnold Allens, literally guys that are top 3 contenders, top 1 contender, top 5 contenders, current champions. Claudio Puelles is currently riding a 5-fight win streak in the UFC, but he hasn't fought anyone in the top 15 yet, so I think this will be a really tough test for him. I'm going to pick Dan Hooker to get back on track and get a big W in this fight to open up the pay-per-view for his teammate Israel Adesanya. And with that being said, it is what it is. Those are my breakdown and predictions. Let me know who you pick in the comments. I'm out.